in Greek. Metron, as I've just said, is to do with measure. So when you are calculating the perimeter of a shape, you are measuring around the shape. So can you see the connection between all of these words? And it was interesting when I was doing some research. Today is October the 1st. And in October, we always celebrate Black History Month. It shouldn't just be 1 month, but that's the month that has been set aside for Black History Month. But Black History Month is all year round. But that's the 1 month in the year where we celebrate and we acknowledge and we recognize the influence and the impact that we Black people have had on society, on the world, and for me, in mathematics. So just a little bit of information. It was the ancient Sumerians, who were Black people. They developed the earliest civilization in Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia is where Syria, Iran, and Turkey are at the moment. So the people from those parts of the world, those areas, they were originally dark. They were Black. And they used mathematical systems and they performed calculations for counting objects like crops and apples and whatever they grew. And also they developed the barter system where you exchange goods for goods. The Babylonians, they inhabited Mesopotamia, and they were the ones who took maths to a new, different, high quality level. So you can see and you can track the origins and the history of mathematics. And then the birthplace as we know it is in Africa. So the birthplace of mathematics originally is in Africa. So you can see the connection between maths and the history behind all of our words. So today's show is about polygons. And as I've mentioned before, a polygon is a shape with straight sides with many angles. It's a 2D shape. It's a closed shape, which means you can't get into the shape from anywhere because all the lines are touching and they're closed. It's a flat 2D shape. So that means it's only got length and width and it has got no depth. A polygon shape must have at least 3 sides. It must have at least 3 sides. So now that I've even mentioned that, we now know that a triangle, and the word tri, T-R-I, is from the Greek language. It means 3, thlia. So thlia as in triangle, a 3-sided shape, straight sides, 3 angles. Then you've got a square. Then you've got a pentagon. That's got 5 sides. Octagon has got 8 sides. Nonagon has got 9 sides. Heptagon has got 7 sides. These are all examples of polygons. Okay, a circle is not a polygon because it has a curved side. Okay, so a circle is not a polygon. Now, when it comes to polygons, when we're teaching about polygons, when we are describing polygons, when we are talking about polygons, we can take it to a different level and we can talk about regular polygons and irregular polygons. So let me explain the difference between the two. A regular polygon, for example, is like a square because a square has got 4 sides and each side is the same length. A pentagon, a regular pentagon, has got 5 sides and each of those 5 sides is the same length. An equilateral triangle is a polygon. It's got 3 sides and each of those 3 sides is exactly the same length. So that is what we refer to. That is what we call regular polygons. A regular polygon. Okay, it means the side lengths are all exactly the same. The interior angles have got the same measure in a regular polygon. So I'm just giving you the background into the word polygon, the origins of the word polygon, and what a polygon is. Because when I'm teaching on the math show, you are listening and you are getting a mental picture through the words that I am talking and using. So I'm very careful about using words that 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 you will be familiar with and that you can relate to. Now, you've got regular and you've got irregular. And an irregular polygon has still got straight sides, but the sides are of varying length. They are not all the same length, the same size. And the angles also vary in size as well. Now, a scalene triangle is an example of an irregular polygon. It's got straight sides, it's got angles, but each of the sides are different and each of the angles are also different as well. A rectangle is a beautiful example of an irregular polygon because on a rectangle, you have got you've got four sides, but two sides are the same length, and the other two sides are also the same length, but they are different. So you've got two long sides and two short sides, and that means the polygon is irregular. A square has got four sides the same length. So when we're talking about polygons, we can be even more specific and talk about irregular and regular polygons. So let me give you an example of different types of polygons. You've got a triangle. You can have an equilateral triangle, which is a regular polygon, because an equilateral triangle has got three sides and three angles exactly the same length. You can have a square. A square is a regular polygon because the four sides are exactly the same length and you've got four angles and each one is 90 degrees. You've got a pentagon. A regular pentagon has got five sides and each of those five sides is exactly the same length and the angles inside of a polygon will all be the same measure as well. You have got octagon, an eight-sided shape. You've got nonagon, a 10-sided shape. You've got a decagon. A nonagon is a 9-sided shape. A decagon is a 10-sided shape. You've got triangle. You've got a quadrilateral, the square, pentagon, hexagon, octagon, heptagon, octagon, nonagon, and so on. These are all examples of polygons. Okay, they're all examples of polygons, and a circle is not a polygon. A circle is not a polygon. Why? Because it has a curved side. So a polygon has to have straight sides. So when we're talking about polygons, can you see how important it is not just to talk about a polygon and just say what a polygon is, but it's really understanding what a polygon is. So I wanted to start the show off earlier talking about polygons. Some of you will have missed the first part of the show because we did have a small technical hitch, which meant I was talking, but you couldn't hear me. But you know, that's live radio, and we've overcome the problem live on the radio. And so now the math show is going as normal. Right, polygons. Now, last week I had a lovely phone call from a young student who asked me to mention some particular areas of mathematics, and I did that. And he contacted me to say that he had a test And what I taught on the math show last week really helped him to get a good mark in his GCSE mark. And so now he's been moved up from foundation stage into the higher tier of maths that he'll be doing in July, June of next year. Brilliant, brilliant news. I've been contacted by another pupil who has asked me about interior and exterior angles in a polygon, which by coincidence, I'm teaching and talking about polygons this evening. So I'm going to be teaching you how to calculate the interior and exterior angles on a polygon. So I've gone from explaining what a polygon is, a closed 2D shape, a flat shape. It's got length and width, but no depth. We know that the word polygon comes from the word poly in Greek, which means many. Gon is from the Greek word gonia, which means angles, a shape with straight sides and many angles. A polygon must have at least 3 sides. So we've got triangles, squares, pentagon, octagon, nonagon, and so on. A circle is not a polygon. Why? Because it has curved side. And you can have regular polygons and you can have irregular polygons. And we know about the Greek language and the influence of the Greek language on our mathematical words. I also went a step further and spoke about the influence of Latin on our science words. So you can see that these languages that like Latin is a dead language, which means it's not widely spoken. But if you are a member of the Catholic Church, there are some services that are conducted in Latin, and it's really interesting to listen to Latin as it's being spoken. And you know, it's a lovely language, and a lot of our words that we speak in English, a big majority of the words do come from the Latin language. So it's really, really important that we understand the roots of our language and the impact and the influence of Greek and Latin on our education and learning today. Okay, interior and exterior angles. Well, from the word interior, that means on the inside, and exterior means on the outside. So I'm going to start off by talking and teaching about interior angles on a polygon. Okay, there is a formula. There is a code that I'm going to talk about now, so that you remember. And when I start talking about it, teaching and explaining, it will mean more to you. Okay, right. Interior. Picture a pentagon, a regular pentagon. A regular pentagon has got 5 sides, and each of those sides is exactly the same length. And the 5 angles inside of the regular polygon, the regular pentagon, which is a polygon, all of those angles are going to be the same size as well. But we don't know how big or what the measure of each of those angles are. And this is where maths comes alive. And this is why I really enjoy teaching you about maths. So on a piece of paper that I've got in front of me, I have just drawn a regular pentagon. And I suggest you do the same as well. Okay? A regular pentagon, the 5 sides are the same length, and it's got 5 sides because it's a pentagon. Right, now then, the formula that I'm going to teach you that we can use to work out the size of the interior angles in a regular polygon is this: n subtract 2 multiplied by 180 degrees. Let me just say that again. N subtract 2 multiplied by 180 degrees. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, what does n subtract 2 mean? Let me explain. N means the number of sides on your polygon. That's simple. So N stands for the word number, and that is the number of sides on your regular polygon. And I've given you a pentagon, and a pentagon has got 5 sides. So N can now be replaced with the number 5. But I bet you're thinking, why and where does the 2 come from? Because the original formula is N subtract 2 multiplied by 180 degrees. Let me explain. In front of me, I have drawn a regular pentagon, 5 sides. Now, I am going to split my regular pentagon into as many triangles as possible that I can make. Now, with my regular pentagon, I am able to make 3 triangles. I can only make 3 triangles from my pentagon. So I've drawn 2 lines inside of my pentagon, and I have created 3 separate triangles. Now, N subtract 2, guess what the answer is? 3. Now you're all saying, oh, I get it. Right, let me say it again. I gave you a 5-sided shape called a pentagon, a regular pentagon. And I split my regular pentagon into 3 triangles. The formula that we use to calculate the interior angles on a polygon is N subtract 2 multiplied by 180 degrees. N is the number of sides. So a pentagon has got 5. So N can be replaced with 5. 5 subtract 2 equals 3. And how many triangles could I only make from my pentagon? 3. So we then multiply that 3 by 180 degrees. Now, my maths, if my maths is correct, 3 times 180 is 540 degrees. Okay? So 3 times 180 equals 540 degrees. Okay? Right. So that is the total number of degrees in a pentagon, in a regular pentagon. That is the total number of degrees in the regular pentagon. Right. Now, because I have got 5 angles in my regular pentagon, I want to work out the size of each of those angles. And remember, because it's a regular pentagon, each of those interior angles will be exactly the same. So what do I do next? I do 540 degrees, which is the total number of degrees in my regular pentagon. And I'm going to divide it by the number of sides, the number of angles in my pentagon, and that's 5. When I do 540 divided by 5, I get an answer of 108. So each of my 5 angles inside of my regular pentagon is 108 degrees big. So I'm going to draw the angle sign on my 5 angles, and each one is 108 degrees. 5 times 108 is 540, and 540 is the total number of degrees in my regular pentagon. Where did that number come from? N subtract 2 multiplied by 180. N is the number of sides. 5 subtract 2 is 3. 3 times 180 is 540. So people have always said, how can you teach maths on the radio? I've just done it. I've just done it. And I've had 2 people send me messages saying, you know, they're getting it, they understand. And you might not get everything this lesson, because that's just not the way our brains work. But when you practice, when you go over it again, when you revise, it becomes a lot easier because you're making use of your knowledge and your skills. Okay, so we know that each of the interior angles on a regular polygon, a regular pentagon, is 108 degrees big. We're going to go for a really, really quick ad break. And when we come back on the other side, we're going to be talking about the exterior angles on a regular pentagon, which is a polygon. Okay, really, really pleased that everyone, I'm getting thumbs up and balloons, and everyone can hear me, and everyone is getting something from the math show this afternoon. So don't go too far, and I'll see you shortly.
Go to www.sovereigncomicsuk and get your latest issue of Mr. Numbervator's Maths comic book series today. You are now tuned into the Mr. Numbervator show every Wednesday from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. on Chalk Hill Community Radio Station. Let's get mathematical.
Hello and welcome back to part 2 of the Math Show with me, Mr. Numbervator, on Chalk Hill Community Radio Station. And today's show, the topic of today's show is about polygons. I've spoken in detail about what a polygon is, where the word polygon comes from. And now what we are doing is we're looking at the interior and exterior angles on a polygon. And the shape that I've chosen is a pentagon. So we're looking at the interior angles on the pentagon, and we're going to now look at the exterior angles on a polygon as well. And the polygon shape that I'm working with, that I've chosen, is a pentagon. And a regular pentagon has got 5 equal side lengths and 5 equal angles. An irregular pentagon can still have 5 sides, but each of those 5 sides will be of a different length. And each of those 5 angles will also be of a different length. So that makes it an irregular pentagon. Okay, so we've now worked out that the interior angles on our regular pentagon, each interior angle is 108 degrees big. How did we work it out? We've used the formula n subtract 2 multiplied by 180 degrees. N represents the number of sides on your polygon. So the number of sides on my pentagon is 5. So 5 subtract 2 equals 3. Where did all that come from? Well, I drew a regular pentagon. That means each of the 5 sides are exactly the same length. And I divided my regular pentagon into 3 triangles. I can only make 3 triangles from my regular pentagon. You can only make 3. It's impossible to make more than 3. Now, because the number of degrees in a triangle is 180, we're going to multiply 3 from 3. The 3's come from 5 subtract 2. 5 sides on a pentagon, subtract 2 is 3. 3 times 180 is 540 degrees. So that tells me that the total number of degrees in a regular pentagon is 540 degrees. That's the total number of all of those 5 angles degrees. So because we've got 540, I want to know the size of each of those 5 angles. So we do 540 divided by 5, and that gives us 108 degrees. So 108 degrees is the size of each of the 5 angles in our regular pentagon. And because it's a regular pentagon has got 5 equal sides and 5 equal angles. Now, the word exterior means outside. So we're now going to look at the size of the outside angle on a regular pentagon. Now, I've drawn my regular pentagon, and I know that my interior angles, each of them is 108 degrees. I am going to continue. So I've drawn my regular pentagon. I'm going to take one of those lines and I'm going to continue to draw and extend one of those sides. So I've extended just one of those 5 sides. I've drawn that made the line longer. Now, as you can see, or as you can imagine, we've got 108 degrees. Now, angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. So because we've got 108 degrees and I've continued my straight line, the other angle that I've now created is on the outside of my pentagon. Now, I've just said angles on a straight line always add up to 180 degrees. We know that the angle on the inside of the pentagon is 108 degrees. So because we've got a straight line, we are now able to work out the exterior angle. So if I do 180 subtract 108, the answer is 72. So 180 subtract 108, the answer is 72, or 72 plus 108 is 180. Right, now, because I've got 5 angles inside of my pentagon, because I've got 5 equally sized angles, each one's 108, that means I'm going to have 5 exterior angles, which are going to be the same size as well. So 172 plus 72 5 times, because there's 5 angles. If I do 72 multiplied by 5, I'm just thinking, what answer am I going to get? Because this is what makes math so amazing. 72 multiplied by 5, because we've got 5 exterior angles and each one is 72 degrees big. When I multiply 72 by 5, I get the number 360. Now, isn't that interesting? So, the exterior angles on a polygon always add up to 360 degrees. Let me say that again. Exterior angles on a polygon will always add up to 360 degrees. I've just proved that to you now. Okay? I've just proved that to you now. And this is what is so special about maths. This is what makes maths so interesting. And I can never get enough of maths. I can never get enough of learning about maths, making maths come alive. This is exactly what makes learning so much fun. And it is not that difficult. Okay? It is not that difficult. So maths on the radio is amazing. Okay? Maths on the radio is amazing. Okay? I'm making maths come alive, and it's just so exciting. Okay? Right. Now, before we finish, I want to give you 5 angle facts. FACTS. I want to give you 5 angle facts because I had a question sent to me by a student in year 9 asking me about angles and angle facts. And I said that I would mention these 5 facts on the radio, on the math show this evening. So once again, I like to be seen to be responding to questions from my listeners, or it could be a teacher, it could be a parent, it could be anyone. But I want to be able to respond to questions. Okay, right, so let me give you 5 angle facts. And these angle facts, Dean is going to be putting together a little small book because these 5 angle facts are so crucial. And with Sovereign Comics, we're looking at always creating comics that are meaningful and exciting. And knowing these 5 angle facts, if we can, when we put them into a comic, that's it. The comic will be teaching you these 5 angle facts. And that's it, there's 5. And I'm going to explain the 5 angle facts to you now. Angle fact number 1. Angles in a triangle always add up to 180 degrees. That is angle fact number 1. Angles in a triangle always add up to 180 degrees. Doesn't matter whether it's isosceles, equilateral, scalene, whatever, they add up to 180 degrees. Angle fact number 2. Angles in a quadrilateral, the total number of angles always add up to 360 degrees. And what makes 360 degrees so exciting is if you take a quadrilateral and you split it, you use one line to split it into 2 shapes, you've got 2 triangles. So from one quadrilateral, you've got 2 triangles. And as I've just mentioned, each triangle is 180 degrees. 180 plus 180 is 360. There you go. So angle fact number 1, angles in a triangle always add up to 180 degrees. Angle fact number 2, quadrilateral, angles in a quadrilateral add up to 360 degrees. So you've got 4 vertices, each one is 90, 4 times 90 is 360 degrees. Angle fact number 3, angles on a straight line add up to 360 degrees. We just did that when we were looking at exterior angles. Angle fact number 4, exterior angles of a triangle. The exterior angle on a triangle is equal to the sum of the opposite interior angles. You see, this is where maths is just, I'm looking outside at the sunset and I'm just thinking how awe-inspiring is maths. So I've drawn a triangle. Just draw a triangle. 3 sides is closed, 3 sides, 3 angles. And I've put there, one angle is 50, one angle is 60, one angle is 70. 50 plus 60 plus 70 is 180 because we know angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. Right. Now, the exterior angle of a triangle. So one exterior angle of a triangle is equal to the sum of the opposite interior angles. So I've got 50 is the angle at the top of my triangle, 60 is the angle on the left, and 70 is the angle on the right hand side of my triangle. So 50 at the top, 60 on the left, 70 on the right. Now, that is the so the exterior angle. If let's take the 70-degree angle, I'm going to extend that line. So now I've got a straight line, and I know that angles on a straight line always add up to 180 degrees. So if my interior angle is 70 degrees and it's on the straight line, which is the exterior angle, that means the exterior angle is 110 degrees. Now, I just said to you that with my triangle, 50 at the top and 60 on the left, guess what 50 and 60 adds up to? 110. And that is the same number for the exterior angle that goes with the 70-degree side. So can you see how maths just all meshes together? It just all comes together and it makes sense. Angle fact number 5, corresponding angles are always equal. So we've got 5 angle facts that you need to know. Not just from year 4, but right up to GCSE. 5 angle facts. And don't you think, Dean, that would be a lovely, that would make a lovely slimline comic? 5 angle facts. We're teaching, and imagine having that comic in your hand in year 9 or year 10. You can't but pass your GCSE maths, because we're going to give you the answers. 5 angle facts. Angles in a triangle 180, quadrilateral 360, straight line angles 180, exterior angle of a triangle is equal to the sum of the opposite interior angles, and corresponding angles are equal. Do you know what? Today's math show has been eventful, because the first part of the math show, I was talking, but people couldn't hear me because we had a slight technical hitch. Now, when it's live radio, these things happen. But because I've been trained well and I've been taught well by people like Flex, who's the engineer for the station, and Blaze, who's the main presenter on the station, and Dean, who works on the math show from Sovereign Comics, because we've all been trained really well, there wasn't any panic, and we've been able to broadcast live. We only missed about 10 minutes of the math show, and I've still managed to catch up and keep up with what I had planned for today. So, live radio, things always go wrong. It's like they say, when you work with children and animals, things always go wrong. I don't like that phrase, because, you know, children are not knowing nothing to do with animals. And if you train the children and train the animals, there's not going to be a problem. So that's what people say. I don't buy into that. I don't believe that. But things do go wrong on the radio. Things go wrong on live TV. I've seen people who are talking on live TV. The microphone has dropped. They haven't realized, and they've been talking, and no one's been able to hear what they say. All you can see is their lips moving up and down. But listen, have a great evening, a great week that's coming up for you. It's Black History Month. It's the October the 1st today. I look forward to seeing you all next week, which will be October the 8th, because it's 7 days in a week, Wednesday to Wednesday. Have a great week. Continue to work hard with your maths. You know that I'm going to say maths is the best subject ever. And thank you for listening. Remember Polygons, and see you all again next week. Thank you, listeners. Bye-bye.